I remember when I was a kid in elementary school, we had a book called Serendipity. Back then, I didn't really understand what that meant. But it's resurfaced. And, for things that are serendipitous or serendipity, that's when unexpected occurrences are happening in your life in benevolent and beautiful ways. That's what serendipity is. That's what God is through us, through our bodies, through our body temples, through our emotions, through our body of affairs. Our life is serendipitous. And so the unexpected part, that's the part where on the evolutionary journey, we just want to become aware that we have chosen on some level. We have all chosen. We kind of took a little pill before we got here. It gave us a little bit of amnesia. And so we're all overcoming amnesia as we move on this path of wholeness, on the hero's journey, on the path of enlightenment, on the path of spiritual mastery. Every path, from every tradition, from every religion, from every corner of the globe, has the same golden thread that we celebrate here at Soul Center. Whether it's Judaism or Hinduism or Buddhism or Christianity or Islam, there is a golden thread in the mystical portion of each of those. Whether it's shamanism, all of it contains this place of going and moving through into enlightenment. And all along the journey, at almost every level, there's a part of the unknown. We just don't know what's gonna happen. And so that's where the unexpected portion comes in. And that's simply so that we can have experiences. We're here to have experiences. That's why we incarnated. That's why we took the amnesia pill, so that we could have experiences. If you remembered everything, of which it's all there, you have it all within you. You have everything you need to remember. And so that's what we're here for. We're here to have the experiences, and we're here to remember. We're here to remember, which means we're taking all of the members of the divine and bringing them back into the fullness and into the allness of who we are. And so, one of the greatest, I think, metaphors recently, some of you probably don't know this about me, but I'm somewhat of a little bit of a gardener. I love to get out in the garden, get my hands dirty. It's a great way to ground with Mother Earth. And actually, this right here, I got a little bit under my thumbnail because I was in there yesterday. So don't judge me. But we know we can't do that here because we are an all-inclusive, all-loving community. And what I love about gardening is that it's a great metaphor for a spiritual practice, because when you're a true gardener, true organic, non-GMO, healthy gardener, is what they do is you kind of prep. You prep a space, you get the soil prepped and ready, but one of the other things you want to do even before you prep the soil is you want to prep and become connected with your desires. What do you want to plant? What do you want to grow? What do you want to harvest into your life that you're going to be nourished by? So first you kind of sit and you allow yourself to be with, what is it? What are my true, authentic desires? And remembering that we're communing and connecting with the authentic desires of our heart and soul, which is different from the desires of our ego or our personality. So we just want to be very clear that we are able to differentiate between the two. The authentic desires mean that we're going to actually sit and we want to commune with Spirit in a very relaxing, meditative space, and we just open and say, what are my authentic desires? What did I come here to enjoy? What am I here? What do I want to create? And what do I want to experience? Those are questions we will never stop asking on the journey to wholeness, because as we are participating with the law of creation and the law of emergence of that which is seeking to rise up to us and through us and from us into the world in unexpected and beautiful ways, into the fertile field of experience, as we are opening up to that, it's part of the overall divine plan of goodness. There is a divine plan for back of everything, in every space and every place. As we say all the time in our community, goodness is. God beyond your wildest dreams is bliss. Bliss, goodness, grace, and joy. That is the very nature of God. And so it's funny, Agape is going to be hosting a week from this Tuesday, Carlton Pearson, and he is, I can't remember if it was Baptist, I can't remember, but he came, a Pentecostal. He came from a very traditional religious background, and they were very much steeped in the old paradigm. So actually, it's an erroneous idea that there's such a place called hell, and that people could commit sins and then get in trouble, and then they could be, go to a place where they're going to be eternally suffering. And he had an awakening. He had an awakening where he heard the voice of the divine, the voice of truth, which that takes cultivation to be able to hear and know. Like in our meditation class, one of the questions that I get all the time is, how do you know the difference between providence, the voice of providence, the voice that sometimes we could say the voice of truth or the voice of God, and just my surface mind? And that is a very powerful question, and that is one we always want to be clear with. And he heard that voice of providence, and the voice of providence, and as you practice, as you cultivate your spiritual practice, which is basically you're strengthening the muscles of your inner beingness. Your inner muscles allow you to transcend every aspect of fear, every aspect of guilt, worry, shame, blame, anxiety, stress. You are here to transcend those feelings participate. They have a participatory experience in this world as creating separation. And so there's actually, believe it or not, there's an okay place for fear in some aspects of life. Some aspects of life where you get that little thrill when you're riding a roller coaster where the adrenaline starts to run. The only reason you get that little thrill is because there's a tiny part of you that's a little bit afraid of something. You can't have that if there's no fear. So there's a good place for it in life. It's just when it goes unchecked and runs amok, and all of a sudden you start believing the erroneous ideas. And so he had this awakening to the Word of God, and it was like, there is no hell. There's no such thing. And that's absolutely part of our teachings. We know that there is no, you can have an experience as though you're going through that, but it is not a place, it is not a thing, it is part of the illusionary, transitory field known as fear. And so what we want to become very aware of in our daily practice is, where am I putting my attention? Am I putting my attention on things that are cultivating more anxiety and more stress and more fear? Or am I allowing myself to have a practice that allows me to center down, that where we use our prayer and our meditation and our affirmations of joy and grace and beauty, and deliberately cultivate the serendipitous nature of life? Life, as I said, is serendipitous. It is cultivating good. And as we align, which means we have to pull ourselves out of the mundane, rote, day-to-day cycles. Because one of the aspects of life is there are energies that are swirling around, there are energy fields in the world of the manifest, which is where we are right here, where you can feel this Formica stand, and you can sit on those chairs, and you can feel your bodies, and sometimes you can even feel your heart and your soul. In the world of the manifest, we are here to become masters of the law of creation and understand the law of emergence, because there's something that wants to emerge through you into this world, and there's something, and that is directly in alignment with that which you would like to experience. And the good news is, it is benevolent. It is always a good. It is always a magnificent. And as we choose, because we are here in the realm of free choice, that's what we're here for. We get to use the mechanism of free choice. They don't use, when you're enlightened, you don't have free choice because you don't need free choice when you're enlightened, because you're already in compliance. The only reason that we need free choice is so that we can choose our way back into wholeness, back into alignment, back into love, back into goodness. That is why we have free choice. It is the mechanism created by God Almighty, God All Good, so that we can have these experiences. And if you choose, if you want to have a bad experience, if you want to experience being slapped across the face, what would it feel like for somebody to come up to me and go, push, and just slap my face? It's one of my favorite scenes in that movie with Cher, Moonstruck, and she's like, this guy's like lost it, and she's like, snap out of it. Well, he probably had somewhere in his life where he wanted to feel what it was like to get a slap across the face. And if you want to have a slap across the face, you can have a slap across the face. And so sometimes, though, we forget that we don't have to do that. We can grow through benevolent and beautiful ways. We can surrender. We can surrender. And so coming back to the kind of the gardening metaphor, we want to become in touch with our authentic desires. What is that that's truly seeking to emerge through me? And then we want to create a space where we can cultivate that. So you go in and you plant your seeds. And once you plant your seed, so if we're planting the seed in our own consciousness, this is your life. This is where you have dominion. Your energy field, your life. You are constantly planting seeds. And sometimes you're planting weeds. And those are the ones that you don't necessarily want. It's like, oh my God, this thing just started up. Like, where did this ugly mess come from? And the reason that weeds can be an ugly mess is because they choke out the things that you need to thrive. If you have a garden and you've planted your tomato seeds, and then all of a sudden weeds start encroaching in, and they overtake the space where the tomato seed needed to germinate and come into the light of God, known as the sun, it will choke it out, and it won't grow. And so that's why then we go into weeding. So we cultivate, and we tend our garden, we go in and we weed the things that are unnecessary. We read the things that cloud our judgment and our perception and that bring us to erroneous conclusions. And if you heard me say before, I've said it a dozen times or so, but I still love it. You don't want to get your exercise jumping to conclusions because most of those conclusions are erroneous and they're going to lead you down not the primrose path is the not good path, right? I can't remember. Well, you don't want to go down the not good path. You want to go down the path that cultivates what's within your heart and soul that is seeking to be revealed. And so we want to make sure that we are weeding our own mind because we all know that everything starts in our mind, what our beliefs are. So we want to start weeding out those beliefs. And one of the beliefs we want to weed right away are excuses. All of us have excuses. It is very tempting to go into excuses. Oh, well, I didn't get this because of that. And, oh, this didn't happen because of that. Oh, and the economy says this. And, oh, and that industry doesn't hire this. And, no, that is absolutely erroneous thinking, and that is taking you down the primrose path. Yes, now I think I'm using it correctly. And so we want to make sure that we tune into, and you make sure that you stay absolutely steeped. So I've planted my seed, I've planted my tomato seeds, and I'm allowing them to germinate, and I'm taking care of the space around them by weeding it, and I'm fertilizing it. I fertilize with my practice of prayer, of meditation, of affirmation, of song, of allowing my vibration to stay high. That is how we fertilize, and we allow the most brilliant, organic, beautiful tomatoes to come into bloom in our own garden, or whatever it is that you like, whether it's lettuce or apples or oranges, whatever it is, but they're all coated and loaded with a grace and a beauty, and they bring you nutrition. And so we want to sup on that. I like one of the things that Joe Dispenza says. He says, if you can't control your mind, everything and else will. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to become aware, and it's easy, it's not hard. Some people think, oh my God, I have to monitor my thoughts, because one of the things is you're going to catch, sometimes there's the little dust bunnies that are they've crept in there, and they've disguised themselves as normal and right, and it's where you're like, well, of course I can't do this, because so-and-so said so, or the industry is this, or that is that, and I just accepted it as, well, I guess that's it. But we all know, and this is probably one of the cliches that is absolutely true, where there is a will, there is a way. And actually, I would just recoin it to say where there is a divine will, there's an even better way. Because as you align with the holy light of God, you are allowing yourself to be impervious. You want to be impervious to the erroneous ideas that are transitory and moving around there. And that is why we go to sound baths, that is why we go to prayer circles, that's why we go to healing clinics, that's why we come to a Sunday service. We are here to cleanse ourselves and make ourselves impervious to the weeds that would grow in our garden and cloud our ideas or keep us from our purpose, keep us from that which we choose to experience in our lifetime. And I like what Ernest Holmes says. He said, it's not necessary to spend your entire life in prayer and meditation. Rather, seek to make your work a prayer, your believing an act, and your living an art. That's when we're starting to move into ceaseless meditation or ceaseless prayer, where we have centered. And if you can imagine, here is enlightenment, and here is kind of non-enlightenment, where I'm feeling like I'm a victim and things are, I can't do this and I can't do that. And you're on this road to enlightenment. You're on the road to awakening. You're on the road, and every single one of us, without fail, every single one of us shall triumph. Every single one of us is an enlightened master. And every single one of us is going to experience nirvana and grace and beauty. Now, if you cultivate it, if you tend your garden, your inner garden, and you weed out the things that would choke those things, then you can move into. So imagine, this is where I say you want to keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the North Star. Keep your eye on the call of your soul, which means every day you just check in. You check in the morning. And we want to make one of the affirmations that we want to all share is that we all want to allow it to be fun and spacious and easy. And when you're on the trajectory to wholeness, no matter where you are in your spiritual evolution, and it's not linear, there'll be days where sometimes you just feel like, oh my God, I feel so connected. I feel grace upon me. And then there might be a day where you just feel like everything's gone to HE double hockey sticks in a handbasket, and you're like, what just happened? Well, that means you're about to grow. You're about to grow because you've all heard that if you aren't feeling a little bit of discomfort in some way, then you're probably not at your growth edge. And you want to grow. You do want to grow, whether you know it or not. You want to bust through your comfort zone. You've heard it a million times from a million different authors that we don't want to get comfortable in our discomfort. We want to move beyond our comfort zone. But I like to go from a place of discomfort to a place of bliss comfort. Bliss comfort means that you are deliberately cultivating through ways of grace and through beauty and through joy to move into the growth in ways that are serendipitous, where you can expect the unexpected goodness in your beingness, and that you can really deliberately, I'm going to highlight deliberate. Because when you are deliberate, you are also, the word liberate in there, liberated. You start to liberate yourself as you are deliberate. So you don't want to be passive. You don't want to be coy. You don't want to be shy. As a matter of fact, I remember, you might want to do, and you have to do this in a really profound and professional way, and you want to set the stage for this, what I'm about to explain. But you want to be so deliberate that you might want to even make a list of your fears, whatever they may be. Maybe it's a fear of snakes, maybe it's a fear of heights or whatever. And we want to be deliberate to heal those in benevolent and beautiful ways. And so what I say about being professional and careful about this is you want to be in a beautifully empowered place. And then you're like, okay, this is what I'm choosing to transcend. Because on the journey, every enlightened master who has ever walked this earth, up at this level of enlightened mastery, you have Yeshua, also known as Jesus, you have Saint Germain, people that have been in the world, they've walked the world. Buddha, when you think about it, they are one with all life, with the bees, with the trees, with the snakes, with the whales, with the sharks. Everything they are one with, and there is nothing that would inhibit their experience of goodness and oneness between them. They are absolutely in that space of joy. So we just want to kind of see, and we want to also be aware of not only excuses, but avoidance. If there's anything you are avoiding in life, or if there's anything that you dread, those are the weeds you want to start to pick. You want to transmute. Now, when we pick our weeds out of our own internal beingness, we are transmuting them. We are not getting rid of them. We are not throwing them away. We are allowing them to transcend into a transmutory field of alchemy. Alchemy is what we are after. We are to alchemize, similar to alkalizing with our alkalizing water, but we want to alchemize our beingness and stay in a place where we are calling forward that which brings a greater sense of love, a greater sense of joy, a greater sense of peace, a greater sense of divine accomplishment. We want to feel accomplished in this life. We've all heard that you don't want to leave this world without singing your song. We're here to do that. Now the good news is, once you pretty much say, I have chosen to be on this path of enlightenment, of goodness, of grace, then we want to be very deliberate on how we cultivate it. So I'm just going to give you the ABCs. The A is your authentic intentions. You do not, I say, we're all going to declare right now, I'm just going to say it out loud, and I'm going to have you just say yes to it. We are all absolutely committed to feeling, knowing, and cultivating our authentic intentions. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So we want to be in complete alignment with our authentic intentions. Then we want to back our intentions. This is the B. So our authentic intention is A. B is we want to back our intentions. We want to back them with the things that support them in bringing them into the fullest blossom that is so beautiful in our lives. So we want to back that with practices, and our prayer practice, our meditation practice, our reading of really wonderful books like The 4 Agreements or The Untethered Soul. If you have not read The Untethered Soul, please go get yourself a copy of it. It is one of the greatest books in the past, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. Also The 4 Agreements. I already mentioned this a couple weeks ago with its new companion book, which allows you to take the chapter on not taking things personally and how do I actually embody that? How do I actually, it's really great in theory. Oh yeah, I don't take things personally. But meanwhile, inside I'm like, and I want to like punch him in the face. Well, I can tell you, that is not taking things personally. Pretending to not take things personally is not taking things personally. Feeling grace, beauty, love, and compassion for whomever you're with, whenever something is going on that seems like it might be a little out of integrity, where you are impervious to it, that is not taking things personally. So as you dive into these practices and we move into the C of the ABCs, is that you clean your life and you take a look at these things. As I was saying earlier, you might want to look at, like, is there something I'm afraid of? And we first want to go ahead and we want to take any charge off of being afraid of something. If you're in your home and you've got your incense going and your candle and you've got maybe your singing bowl and you move into that prayerful field and you're all safe and cozy and warm and however way you want that to be, and then you kind of address a situation that may include some flavor of limitation, lack, or what we might call fear as a transitory energy, and then we want to invite God into the equation and we give that to God. We are not to carry burdens. That is not part of the deal. You are to unburden yourself every moment of every day. If you are carrying any burdens, you are to relinquish them. But you just won't believe, myself included, how many people forget to unburden themselves. And then the next thing you know, I've got a debilitating shoulder. Oh my God, my lower back is, oh my God, because your body's telling you what's going on. And if you listen to your body and you check in and you're like, oh, okay, back, what are you going to tell me? Remembering that the back of our body is where we receive, the front of our body is where we give. So you start to get the language of the divine and understand that, oh, I somehow bought into this erroneous idea that I am not supported in life, either financially or from my body of affairs, from people in my life. I want to release and transmute and weed that out of my beingness. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to prep the soil right now. We're going to call, what you want to do with your soil when you're gardening is you want to make sure all the nutrients are in there so that whatever you're planting to grow can thrive. And so we're going to do that right now by just doing a few more affirmations. And so I'm going to invite you to just join me. If we all just go ahead and we'll stand and just repeat after me. And just allow yourself to relax. You know, I want to set the intention, whenever you're doing an affirmation, because when an affirmation makes its way into your bones, into an embodiment field, then you're going to experience. So we open into a prayer field. We open into that space where we invite the holy presence of God. We open to the holy light. And remember that we are created in the image and likeness of God. And we say this: I live a divinely serendipitous life.
I live a divinely serendipitous life.
I am clearly aware of my authentic desires.
We are clearly aware of our authentic desires.
It is easy for me to understand the language of my soul.
It is easy for us to understand the language of our soul.
Divine enthusiasm motivates me.
Divine enthusiasm motivates me.
And I deliberately, benevolently, and gratefully receive my good.
And we deliberately, benevolently, and gratefully receive our good.
And so I let it be.
And so I let it be.
Amen.
Amen.
Oh, you may be seated, and as we have all proclaimed these affirmations to be true, as we prepare to call forward the ushers, we're just going to take a moment and we're going to seal it in a prayer. As we have just made ourselves benevolently vulnerable to the holy light of God, as we have opened our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls, and we have all here today said that we are deliberately cultivating the serendipitous nature of God that brings forward good in every way, shape, and form, for this is the only way that God operates. Bliss, grace, beauty, it is the very nature of who we are. As we are born in the image and likeness of God, we know and we have chosen to feel that and to know it and to experience it viscerally through our beingness, a divine awareness where hope and optimism and faith and joy and love overwhelm us. We give that permission. We give permission to see with God's eyes and to hear with God's ears and to rejoice in the fun, in the love, in the beauty, and in the harmonizing good back of all life. We align with the eternal light of God and we accept it into our bones. We accept it into our bodies. We accept it into our body of affairs and into all of our relationships and all of our endeavors. And we allow that serendipitous magnificence to have its way joyously and with a sincere divine expectancy. We may not know what it is, but we know it is good. We call it forward, we allow it to be, and we declare it so. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. And ushers are coming. Oh no, are we doing ushers or songs? Ushers are coming forward.